to prom! A good day to all. We are the Group 6 and we are here to discuss the psychoanalytic and psychiatric factors when criminals are attempting or actually doing a crime. Maraming concepts ang ating i-discuss for this particular topic, and I hope by the end of this lesson we can gain a better understanding with regards to different aspects of one's human mind and behavior that has the potential to lead in a crime. So without further ado, I guess we can now formally start the discussion. We will start by enumerating the contents of this presentation. What we will discuss today are the following: some definition of terms, various studies of the human behavior and mind concerning the causes of crimes, the psychoanalytical theory, and finally we have the general index of criminality. Okay, so let us start with defining some important terms for us to be able to understand the concepts and context of our succeeding topics. First, we have the term psychoanalysis or psychoanalytic, which is defined as analysis of human behavior. It is a method of treating a mental disorders shaped by a psychoanalytic theory, which emphasizes unconscious mental processes and is sometimes described as the depth psychology. In a nutshell, psychoanalysis is used to determine one's behavior. Secondly and lastly, we have psychiatry. This is known as the study of human mind. If psychoanalysis is inclined with the human behavior, psychiatry is more focused with the study of human mind. Moreover, it is the study and treatment of mental illness, emotional disturbance, and abnormal behavior.
Various studies of the human behavior and mind concerning the causes of crime. Now that we are already familiar with the mentioned terms, we can now move forward and elaborate the various studies of the human behavior and mind concerning the crime. So the succeeding slides will reveal the different studies that conflicts with the findings of the causes of crimes by using psychoanalysis or psychiatry. Acorn in his book entitled Wayward Youth, 1925, stated that the causes of crime and delinquency is the fault development of child during the few years of his life, faulty ego development. The first study was conducted by Acorn. August Acorn was an Austrian educator in psychoanalysis. He had a book with the title of Wayward Youth, to which he stated that the causes of crime and delinquency is the fault of development of the child during the first few years of his life, faulty ego development. He is simply implying that what a person had in his or her foundation a years is a crucial and significant factor his or her development and even on the event of committing a crime. Next, we have David Abrahamsen, who was a Norwegian forensic psychiatrist, psychoanalysis, and author, to explain crimes in the perspective of human life. He has provided a formula which is C is equal to T plus S/R. The letter stands for their corresponding meanings, and they are C, which stands for crime, equals T for the criminal tendency desire, added to S, which is the total situation opportunity, over the R or the resistance. Abrahamsen points out that the T factor is not simply aggressive tendencies, since they are present in all men. T also refers to aggressive inclination of an indirect nature. For instance, projections, rebellious hostility towards anyone protest, reaction, or excessive motor activity. S is the situation and indeterminate factor in mobilizing the criminal act. Everything considered, this formula indicates how the desire and the situation of a person can lead to his or her crime. Sir Cyril Ludwig Bert was an English educational psychologist and geneticist who also made contribution to statistics. He is known for his studies of the heritability of IQ. His theory, general emotionality, is known to is known as the development of factors analysis in psychological testing and for his studies of the effect of heredity on intelligence and behavior. He affirms that if a person lacks or same instincts, he has the tendency to become a criminal. He also said that some callous type of criminals such as murderers or rapists tend to have emotion dysfunction, which tell us how they have problems with their emotion of love. They also tend to justify their acts with their excuses. Next, we have David Healy, a professor of psychiatry, psychopharmacologist, scientist, and author. From his theory, we can learn that a crime is usually reinforced to what is inside one's mind. The individual's crime delinquency is usually affected by certain circumstances that is related with one's trauma. As stated, the personal causes emotional discomfort. Personality demands a removal of pain, and as eliminated by substitute behavior are some of the factors that affect crimes. Philip M. Bromberg was an American psychologist and psychoanalyst was actively involved in the training of mental health professionals throughout the United States. He claimed that the crimes are usually a result of emotional immaturity. This means that when an individual lacks the proper nourishment with their emotion, it can lead to engaging with such a criminal acts. Research shows that many crimes reflect a lack of impulse control and rational judgment, rather than a serious criminal tendency.
The psychoanalytical theory of human personality and crime is the following. From the study we recently discussed, what do you think is the one you actually share the same idea in talks of causes of crime? For this time, we hope that you are still following the discussion because after we have discussed some study regarding the causes of crime, we will not be talking about the psychoanalytical theory of human personality and crimes. It has the three components known as the ego and superego. The first component of the psychoanalytic theory is the id. It is the pleasure principle, and it refers to selfishness, violence, and antisocial wishes. These are part of the original instinct of man. As you can observe from the picture, it has the symbol of a devil. It is the part of our individuality and dwells on mostly negative traits. It doesn't go right with the social norms. The second principle is the ego. The ego balances the id and the superego. It is the real self or the normal self. The ego functions in the conscious, preconscious, and unconscious mind. The ego is the personality component responsible for dealing with reality. The ego operates based on the reality principle, which strives to satisfy the id's desire in realistic and socially appropriate ways. In short, the ego is the standard and it balances the id and superego. Finally, we have the superego. This refers to the means that the conscience of the man. The superego tries to correct or control the ego and present it by the voice of God. Moral truth, commandments of society, good for the whole will of the majority, cultural convention, and other rules. As you can observe from the picture, in contrast with id, superego dwells more on positive traits, thus an angel symbol. The superego holds the internalized moral standard and ideals that we acquire from our parents and society. The superego follows the social norms, standards, and proper behavior. It is our moral compass and our sense of right and wrong. Sigmund Freud is a well-known personality in the field of psychology, and he was the proponent of the theory we just discussed. He was an Austrian neurologist and the founder of psychoanalysis, a clinical method for evaluating and treating pathologies in the psyche through dialogue between a patient and pathologist.
The Journal Index of Criminality attempts to represent all the factors which explain why a person commits a crime. The following are some of the significant factors which drives a person to commit a crime, and also it explains how a person may prevent that from happening. In this discussion, the first, fifth, and sixth conditions are the only factors that will explain a person's cause for his or her crimes. On the other hand, The second, third, and fourth conditions will explain as to why a person will inhibit himself or inhibit herself for committing a crime. To reiterate, this is according to General Index of Criminality. First, we have the need for frustration. A criminal is said to experience frustration first before having a rationale for his or her crimes. Frustration leads to anger, that leads to aggression, and finally leads to violence. Typically occurs when an individual's motivated behavior is blocked, and as a consequence, they begin to behave irrationally. Okay, so the second main condition is the internal inhibition. This refers to the internal forces that prevent a person from committing a crime. This particular condition is a factor as why a person will control or restrain himself or herself to committing a crime, and that is because of the internal traits or forces that will dictate his or her morality. Okay, for an instance, a person's respect to other person may be his reason as to why he would not commit a crime because he respects that person. Okay, so external inhibition, this refers to all types of external forces that may prevent an individual from committing a crime. Okay, these factors also explains as to why a person will not commit a crime. Because of some external forces such as punishments, the shame that one can get from the community, the potential destroyed reputation, and from these external forces, a person will no longer think of committing a crime. The fourth condition is the contact with reality, wherein this refers to the extent to which a person can learn from his past experiences, especially his previous mistakes, and foresee the consequence of his immediate action concerning his future. The fourth condition tries to explain that a person will not commit a crime because he has learned from his past experience or lesson. It might be his previous mistake that has been corrected and now he is able to distinguish the right from wrong. The fifth condition explains a person's driving force of committing a crime. The situational crime potential or the opportunity states that to the cultural opportunity to commit the crime, that is to the easiness or possibilities to commit a crime offered by a given place, situation, person, or environment. If a community has a culture that permits a certain crime, then criminals will not hesitate to do it, simply because the people and the society are not strict about it. In short, it's all about the opportunity that makes a person criminal. Lastly, we have the potential satisfaction. This last condition explains as to why a person will likely to commit a crime, and that is because of the satisfaction or personal benefit he may get from committing that crime. It also perhaps that person has nothing to lose. He has no name to protect nor reputation to preserve. That is why he will be committing a particular crime.
Our discussion ends here.
We hope that we got better picture and perspective on understanding the reason behind a person's committing of crimes.
As future professionals in this field, we need to be knowledgeable enough on these concepts and information so that we can utilize it to our future professional endeavors. Thank you for listening.